We can't leave Earth because a strange force prevents it, according to researchers' claims. It's almost 60 years of NASA's so-called space exploration. It's never been able to offer us a single genuine photograph of the Earth from space, nor real one, even though we've had good high-resolution cameras for almost 100 years. NASA has never taken a true picture of our planet Earth, they say. By their own admission, all the images we see are composites and paintings or computer-generated images. So why is this? The answer, horror of horrors, could be that NASA has never been in space, or at least not far enough from Earth to get the entire planet in the picture. Houston, we have a problem. Above, we've been able to see some photos of NASA space shuttle rockets and launches using long exposures to allow us to follow the vehicle for much longer than we would see during normal TV coverage. Do you notice something strange in the trajectories? Well, I'm not a genius, but according to my Flash Gordon comics, rockets are supposed to go up, not up and then immediately back down or somewhere in the sea. Houston, we have another problem. Circling the Earth, beginning at an altitude of 1,000 miles, that's 1,600 kilometers, and extending an additional 25,000 miles, 4,233 kilometers, are deadly bands of radiation called the Van Allen radiation belts, which could fry instrumentation on board and make any foolhardy astronaut sick enough by passing through them. So how did the Apollo missions get through the Van Allen belts back in the 1960s, where NASA is currently struggling with ways to protect its astronauts on their supposed next trip to Mars? 3 naughty schoolboys? Here's something for anyone who still believes we went to the moon. It's the bristling convergence at the Apollo 11 press conference immediately after the astronauts returned to Earth. Keep in mind that these 3 astronauts, these men, have supposedly just returned from the greatest adventure in the history of mankind. These guys are national heroes of the U.S. They have fulfilled every kid's dream. And we hope you're excited and buoyed up that you survived the journey and walked on the moon, and yet they are strangely muffled, nervously watching their teleprompters and each other as they answer reporters' questions. Are there stars? Stars? What stars? At 1:04:42 at the Apollo 11 press conference held after the astronauts returned, Neil Armstrong was asked if he remembered seeing any stars in the lunar sky, a subject the crew was apparently asked to avoid since the astrological positions of the constellations were too difficult to simulate on on lunar backgrounds. Armstrong then erroneously responded, "I don't remember," to which Aldrin winces at his mistake, as if one might forget an important detail that they witnessed firsthand in their supposedly universally unique experience. To help Armstrong get over being shot at for its difficult question, crew member Michael Collins offered assistance by interjecting, saying, "I don't recall seeing any." The problem is he answered there, it was Buzz Aldrin who supposedly walked the surface of the moon with Armstrong and not Collins. Has NASA been? Nowhere. What if it's not possible to send things into space, even put things into Earth's orbit? There are 3 serious obstacles to being able to put things into space and getting them to stay there, and these must be accommodated within our reality frame so that we can determine what is real and not. The thermosphere? Forget the deadly Van Allen radiation belts, which stretch thousands of miles around the Earth. The main reason nothing has ever gone into space is the thermosphere. This atmospheric layer begins at about 50 miles high, where temperatures begin to rise up to the Kármán line, which reaches 62 miles. Beyond this point, the heat increases dramatically, rising rapidly to 125 miles, where the temperature can reach 2,500 degrees Celsius. For reference, the oven in your kitchen reaches 240 degrees Celsius maximum, the crematorium reaches 1,000 degrees Celsius, and a blast furnace for melting iron can reach as high as 2,300 degrees Celsius. NASA uses aluminum, magnesium, titanium, and epoxy graphite composite materials to build its spacecraft, all of which would melt in these high temperatures of the thermosphere. Both aluminum and magnesium melt at 660 degrees Celsius, titanium at 1668 degrees Celsius. White graphite has a high melting point of 5500 degrees Celsius. It is also an excellent conductor of heat, although your spacecraft will most likely disintegrate long before the astronauts are cooked to ashes. Humans cannot survive exposure above 70 degrees Celsius. Number 2, the orbiting mechanism. What things float in space when they are beyond 100 kilometers from Earth? Does gravity magically stop affecting objects at this distance? The official answer is that above 100 kilometers, objects are easily in free fall, but if something is traveling fast enough laterally, like the space shuttle at 28,000 kilometers an hour, then this speed will cause the object to fall constantly along the convex curve of the Earth, thus never reaching the ground, hence keeping itself in orbit. This is known as a theory of gravity, the extrapolation of an idea originally conceived by Isaac Newton in the 17th century, and today increasingly rejected by more clear-headed people who have their feet firmly on the ground. In fact, Newton himself, after some contemplation, thought of the practical application of his ridiculous theory, as he put it in a letter to a friend, Richard Bentley, in 1692. Isaac Newton said this, that gravity should be innate, inherent, and essential to matter, so that one body can act on another at a distance through a vacuum without the mediation of anything else, by and through which its action and force can be transmitted from one to the other, is to me such an absurdity that I believe that no man who has in philosophical matters a competent faculty of thought can ever fall into it. The idea that a body with sufficient mass can exert an attractive force on another, as a planet is supposed to have on its moon, astronauts and spacecraft, has never been demonstrated or proven. An increasing number of physicists are questioning whether gravity exists at all. Number 3, the abundance of counterfeiting. If NASA really has put things into orbit, sent men to the moon, launched the probes into our outer space, then why is there so much secrecy, subterfuge, and falsification about it? The biggest damnation of all, why can't NASA produce a simple, genuine photograph of the Earth from space? The famous blue marble. Beautiful, isn't it? Well, it's fake. This iconic image above was pieced together from alleged satellite data and then photoshopped so crudely that you'll see it if you click on the image. The discovery of duplicate clouds has led to accusations that not only is the 2002 image Blue Marble 2 a fake, but the original Apollo 17 image Blue Marble Blue was probably a fake as well, and that in turn has led some to question whether everything NASA did and said it was false. And NASA says the spectacular image of the blue marble is the most detailed true color image of the entire Earth to date. Using a set of satellite-based observations, scientists and visualizers stitched together months of observations of the land surface, oceans, sea ice, and clouds into a seamless, true color mosaic of every square kilometer of our planet. It's all about expectations, says NASA artist. The last time someone took a picture from above low Earth orbit that showed a full hemisphere, one side of the globe, was in 1972 during Apollo 17. NASA's Earth Observing System EOS satellites were designed to perform a health check on the Earth. By the year 2002, we finally had enough data to take a snapshot of the entire Earth, and that's how we did it, he said. He said the hardest part was creating a flat map of the Earth's surface using 4 months' worth of satellite data. Rito Stockley, now at the Federal Office of Meteorology and Climatology, did much of this work. Robert Simmons, NASA artist, says we were wrapped the flat map around a sphere. So we wrapped the flat map around a sphere. My part was to integrate the surface, clouds, and oceans to match people's expectations of what the Earth looks like from space, that ball became the famous blue marble, said NASA artist Robert Simon. All very fascinating, but wouldn't it be easy to just take a picture, from one of its 3,000 plus satellites? Apparently not. The good folk at NASA tell us that the only photos of the entire Earth were taken during Apollo 17 mission. The fact that this mission, along with all other Apollo missions, never actually left Earth goes to make findings of these photos problematic. NASA has satellites. Is it not like this? I mean, NASA has been sending objects into space for years, right? How can we know? The problem is that the US government agency has a monopoly on all space artifacts. The only way to know for sure would be to go there ourselves, independent of NASA, have a look around. This is exactly what Sir Richard Branson attempted in 2014. Will there be a conclusion to make? By conclusion, do we mean a judgment or determination about space programs? Is that what we want, even if it risks being presented with a worst-case scenario where it all has been a big lie? Because if, as the fact seems to indicate, NASA has not been in orbit, then we have to get used to a whole new reality. And this is on Mysterious Society by Zach White. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. What do you think about all these claims? Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.